Come on in. There's room on that log right across from me. Drag it up until you feel the heat on your shins. That's close enough. Any closer, and the smoke will find your eyes. Tonight the wind is out of the north-northwest, carrying just a hint of salt and old gasoline. I always save this story for nights exactly like this, when the stars are sharp and the moon hasn't risen yet. Because some stories don't want daylight. They want the dark and the hush and the small, honest sound of logs shifting in the flames. December 5th, 1945. A Tuesday. Most of the country was thinking about Christmas packages and demobilization papers. At Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, 14 men were thinking about navigation problem number 19, a milk-run training hop that was supposed to last 2 hours and change. Let me put names to the faces before the dark takes them, because the fire likes names. Flight Leader, Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, 28 years old, 2,500 flight hours, combat veteran of the Solomon Islands, still fresh in his logbook. Quiet voice, steady hands, the kind of instructor students trusted without question. He had a brand new baby daughter he'd only seen in photographs. The 4 student pilots. Marine Captain Edward Powers, methodical, kept a perfect logbook, never late for anything. Second Lieutenant Forrest Gerber, always smiling in the ready room photos, freckles across his nose. Ensign Joseph T. Bossy, 20 years old, wrote his mother every single night without fail. Second Lieutenant George W. Stivers, the quiet one, could navigate by the stars better than most instructors. And the 9 crewmen riding in the back seats, radiomen, gunners, turret operators, boys who'd survived the Pacific and were counting days until rotation home. 14 men total. 14 ordinary Tuesdays that turned into something else entirely. The airplanes were Grumman TBM-3 Avengers, big radial engine torpedo bombers painted gloss sea blue. Each one carried 3 souls, a full load of practice bombs, and enough fuel for about 5.5 hours if you nursed it. The route was drawn on the chalkboard that morning like a child's connect the dots. Depart Fort Lauderdale, 1410 local. Fly 091 degrees true for 56 nautical miles to Hen and Chickens Shoals. Drop bombs, inert, water-filled. Continue east another 67 nautical miles. Turn north 73 nautical miles, then home on 241 degrees, straight shot back to base. Total distance, 316 nautical miles. A triangle so simple, the instructors called it navigation problem for kindergartners. Weather brief was almost boring. Scattered cumulus, visibility unlimited. Light wind from the northeast at 12 knots. Temperature, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The kind of Florida afternoon that makes you glad to be alive. At 14:10 exactly, the 5 Avengers roared off runway 6 in perfect formation, wingtip to wingtip, sunlight flashing off propellers. The tower watched them climb through 1,500 feet, turn east, and disappear into the haze like they'd done 1,000 times before. For the first hour, everything was textbook. Idle chatter on the training frequency. Jokes about steak dinners. Complaints about the coffee in the ready room. Someone humming, "Don't fence me in." Nothing to suggest the world was about to tilt sideways. Then, at 1540, the first crack in the ordinary. Lieutenant Robert Cox, an instructor flying a separate training hop nearby, overheard a transmission on the common frequency. "This is FT-28. Both my compasses are out. I am trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I am over land, but it's broken. I am sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down. Cox broke in. FT-28, this is FT-74. What is your present altitude? I can give you a bearing. Taylor's reply came back calm, almost conversational. I'm at 2,300 feet. Don't know how I got to the Keys. Everything looks wrong.
Now pause here with me.
Imagine that sentence hanging in the air. Everything looks wrong. 14 experienced naval aviators staring down at water and land that refuses to match any chart they've ever studied. The Keys are a thin, unmistakable string of islands curling southwest from Miami. If Taylor thought he was over the Keys, he should have been able to see Miami's skyline to the north, or the long white scar. He saw neither. At 1600, the tower at Fort Lauderdale took over. They asked Taylor to switch to the emergency frequency, 3,000 kilohertz, so they could get a radar fix. Taylor refused, twice. His exact words, "I do not want to change frequency. I am afraid if I do, we will be lost." By 1625, the flight was running low on fuel and still flying east, away from land. Taylor finally made the decision every pilot dreads. We are heading 030 degrees for 45 minutes, then north. We will try to find the coast. But the wind aloft wind that day was 30 to 35 knots out of the northeast, pushing them farther out into the Atlantic at almost walking speed. 1645, sunset. The sun dropped into the sea like a hot coal, and the sky turned the color of old blood. Taylor came back on frequency. We cannot see land. We cannot be sure of any direction. Everything is wrong. Even the ocean looks strange. One of the students, believed to be Captain Powers, broke in with the line that still chills every pilot who hears it. It looks like we are entering white water. We're completely lost. White water. Over the deep Atlantic, where the water should have been black and rolling under the moonlight. 1716, the last position report anyone would ever trust. When first man drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. After that, only fragments. Someone laughing too loud. Someone else whispering what sounded like a prayer. A faint voice saying, "Don't come after us. They look like they're from space." Though the official transcript omits that line. 1904. The signal faded into static forever. 23 minutes later, a Martin PBM-5 Mariner flying boat, call sign Training 49, lifted off from Banana River Naval Air Station with 13 rescue crewmen aboard. It was seen climbing through 800 feet, lights winking, heading straight for the last estimated position of Flight 19. At 1950, a merchant ship reported a low-flying aircraft and a mid-air explosion. A bright flash that lit the horizon orange for several seconds. Training 49 never transmitted again. No wreckage, no survivors. 27 men gone before supper. The Navy searched 250,000 square miles of ocean for 5 full days. Not one seat cushion, not one drop of oil, not one body. The official Board of Inquiry wrote, "Cause or reason for disappearance? Unknown." Press pages remain classified to this day. I knew a search pilot who flew those grids. old Master Chief Warrington. He told me once, voice barely above the crackle of his own cigarette, "We flew until the fuel gauges were kissing empty. The water was flat as glass, but it didn't reflect the stars. It reflected something else, something that moved underneath." He never flew again after that week. So here we sit. 79 years later. 5 Avengers still flying somewhere east of Florida, looking for a coast that never appears. A mariner still burning in slow motion above an ocean that keeps its secrets. If you hear engines tonight, low and radial and impossible, don't look up. Just pull your blanket higher and let the fire finish the story for you. The embers are low now. Some questions aren't meant to be answered in one lifetime. They're meant to be carried, quiet and warm, until the next fire is lit. Wherever you are, whatever hour your clock shows, sleep well. Good night. I'll keep this fire going until it runs out.